All right, guys, welcome to this week's lesson on SEO. We're going to be focusing on a couple different things. I'm going to bounce around, but one of the main things that we're going to focus on first is going to be your GBP or GMB cover photo. So why is that so important? Basically, the main thing that you're going to realize or notice on the cover photo, that is the photo that basically appears when you share your Google business profile. So we had one of our own, right, Lorraine with Millen & Homes. She posted in the Facebook group. She shared a link because we were kind of exchanging reviews. She shared a link and she noticed that, lo and behold, Google picked a photo, a random photo from her photo gallery, and that's basically what's showing as her cover. So one thing before I jump into how to do this or why it's important, I do have to let you know that Google right now, and it has done this in the past, it's just doing this more often. It basically, even if you upload a photo where I'm about to show you the correct place to upload it on your GBP profile, it still has the option, Google in particular has the option to switch that out and do what they want. When you kind of signed up for this, it's basically fine print. They can do what they want. So what we found is a little hack, and I'll show it to you, even though it might take the regular way, I'm still going to show you the little hack in case you run into a situation where you upload a cover image and you're expecting it to appear right when you share it and it doesn't, it still shows something else. Then this little hack that I'm going to show you today is basically a workaround to kind of force basically or trick Google to show that cover letter. Okay, so we're going to focus on that first. And then after we look at that, what I wanted to do is then start talking about some media that you can actually add to your blog posts, some interlinking strategies, things like that, keeping it low level. Because I know, for example, we have Keith with us today. I know Keith has now gotten into some blogging with us, not necessarily a higher level package, but he's going to be purchasing some blogs. So that's very important for someone like Keith on the foundations, but wants to do some of these higher level tactics, the interlinking and what to do with those blogs, what to add a little more push. So I know Mickey, you guys are still kind of at that level, right? But you do a lot of action. I think that piece is going to be important. And then where I see the value for those of you that are kind of in the upper level is kind of just adding. I always say this is like, you guys are on here, so you guys are doers, right? Action takers. So there is nothing wrong with adding your own stuff and using these methods to add more power to our campaign that we have going for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let's see here, share. All right, if I can get a couple thumbs up there that you guys can see my screen. Boom. All right, got it. All right, I'm going to increase this just a little bit and move everybody to the side. And I also have to keep an eye out if anybody joins. All right, so cool, I'm ready to go. All right, so right now, boom, if you don't know how to get to this screen, this is basically Millen & Homes dashboard for their Google business profile, right? So this is Lorraine's dashboard. If you don't know how to get here, just use this URL right here, business, or actually you can type in google.com/business and it redirects to something like this. Just make sure you're logged into the email that's your business email, the one you use to create this. So I'm going to actually get rid of my Facebook tab there. And I got a couple things open here. All right, cool. So first things first, how do we update our cover letter or our cover image on our Google business profile and why? So first, what I want to show you is what Millen & Homes is currently experiencing, why this is a problem. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look at these options right here. And all I'm going to do is click on this view on search, right? So what are our clients seeing when they actually search for us, our brand? What do they see on the sidebar? Obviously, they should be seeing your brand number one, right? That's when they kind of type in Millen & Homes, we better appear number one. That's kind of the first goal. Number two is our Google business profile should be on the sidebar here. And this image right here, this does exist in the Millen & Homes kind of image profile, but for one of the image or posts that we used, and what Google did was randomly just choose one. And why did it choose this particular one? Is basically made a decision on what image they think best represents this company and what they do. That's how the algorithm kind of chooses an image. But we don't want that. That doesn't represent according. to Lorraine. She's like, no, I have one. I want me. I'm the brand, right? I'm the one that comes up. I'm Melanin Homes. I want to educate around notes. I don't want this picture as my cover, right? I don't want that to be the first thing people see. So we're going to go back to the dashboard here. And right now I'm under home right here. And then if I go here to the center, we're going to create, or actually we're going to add a photo right here, add a photo. Boom. And then when you add photos, there's a number of options right here. You got cover, video, and you got all these right here. And I do want to point out that any of these photos, because sometimes you might load a cover, or you might have a couple versions of your cover, and you upload it and you upload another one. And what happens is you end up choosing one, but the rest of them end up here and people can see them. Maybe you don't want those there. You could click on these and delete them. So keep that in mind. You can also delete photos out of here, and that's completely fine. But in this case, what we're going to do, the first task that we're going to do is add a cover image here. So we'll go ahead and go here to choose photo. And we'll go ahead and select a photo. And I'm going to choose it from my desktop. I already have some that I created for Lorraine, and I'm going to add that. Now, I do want to give you guys some tips here on there. I've added the cover. You can kind of see it. It's been labeled, but I want you guys to write this down if you guys are serious about kind of testing your covers. The size of the image matters. Okay. So I want you to write this down is 1080 by 608 pixels. 1080 by 608 pixels. Okay. So that is a landscape shape photo. And the other thing that you need to watch out for, make sure it's high quality. Okay. So one of the tips that I can give you on where to go to kind of create these, or if you don't have Photoshop or whatnot, Canva is the easiest place. It's free. With the free version, you can create these images. They also have like background images that you can put. For Lorraine, all we did was find a nice textured background. You don't want it to be white, right? Because then it blends in with the rest of the white background when people look up your listing, kind of like this, right? So it's gonna be right here. So you don't want it to be white and just kind of something in there. So that's why we added a nice textured background. And then what I would recommend is add your logo. Keep it very simple and high quality, and then use those dimensions and you should be good to go. So what we want to do here is see if the actual cover changed, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to home, and then I'm going to scroll down a little bit here, and I'm going to now search for this again on search. And we're not getting anything. And what we're going to do, we're going to test, because this about a month and a half ago, 2 months now, this particular situation, this hack that I'm about to show you, say, because right now it's under review, it might appear, once again, it might appear in a couple of days, it might not. So what we need to do is make sure that we had a for sure kind of method. So I'm going to show you this hack and see if it works. If it doesn't, I'm still going to look at it tomorrow, see if it actually took. But there is a second way to actually upload a cover image to change this. And this is when we spend maybe a couple days to a week and it still hasn't changed. Then you need to do this. So we're going to go back to Melanin Homes here, the dashboard. And then what we're going to do, again, I'm on home here. So now instead of being on home and going to photos, this is a second method. You're going to go to the left-hand side here, and you're going to scroll down and you're going to go to website right here. Okay. So once you go to website here, this is what we call a Google site or a G site. You're not going to publish. You don't have to publish this. All you have to do is go to the center here, scroll down, and you're looking for the edit header photo. So as you can see, it's updated the actual photo with what I uploaded, right? So it took what I uploaded as my header. So I have a second photo for Lorraine. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to test, see if I change it to the second photo, if it automatically loads on the front end. So before I do that, I do want to go back here and I want to refresh. I just don't want to, I want to make sure that it did not change. So go here. And I do one more test because I want to for sure that did not change. I'm going to open up an incognito window. You guys will not be able to see this, but don't worry. All I'm doing is popping up an incognito window. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a quick Google search, and an incognito. I want to see if it actually changed. And if it didn't, it's doing exactly what I want. We're then going to do the hack. And it did not. Okay, cool. So I'm going to get rid of that. Now we're going to go back here, and I'm going to upload the second photo. So edit here, go here, and then I have the second photo right here. Go ahead and upload that. Oops. There it is. All right, so we should be good here. Photo, that's been changed. All right, so we should be good to go here. All right, so now we are going to test this again. We're going to get rid of these two, go back to home, and then we are going to look at it. It's not taken. Try it in the search. All right, so 2 ways to upload your cover images. Unfortunately, it's not changing automatically. Once again, this I'm hoping this isn't something that they've covered up for us, because that was the only way to really do it. Now what we've done, we've basically done everything we can to change our cover photo. So I get this question a lot. So if you are struggling with actually changing that photo, do the 2 methods. For Lorraine here, I'm going to keep an eye on it for the next 24, 48 hours. And this should change. This will should change, but I'm going to keep an eye on it, kind of report back. But this, in the past, like I said, this last time I did this little hack was about 2 months ago. It used to change automatically. So Google's kind of doing something to kind of slow down review, which is fine. But what I would do now, you have 2 ways to upload a cover image. So it's kind of go through them real quick. So it's on the photos. You kind of know where to go right there and cover. And then the second one, if you missed it, basically all I did was go to website and go down. You did not publish. Now you are not publishing. This is what you don't want to do. So all you're doing is editing, adding a photo, and it automatically pretty much updates. And that with time should override whatever we did on the top. And in most cases, like I said, I got to kind of look at it. Who knows, by the end of our call here, we might actually see that changed out completely. So just want to kind of share that with you guys, because that one is going to be big for your branding, especially if you're getting a random image that's being put out there by Google for your cover photo. Okay, so the second thing that I wanted to talk about here, besides the cover photo, is going to be reviews. So in the group, we looked at, there was Keith, I believe, started kind of the thread, and there was a lot of people kind of interacting. And at some point, I think it might have been a second thread actually for the reviews part. But anyway, what we ended up doing is sharing for reviews. But what I ended up seeing is a lot of people giving reviews. I believe, Kim, you might have been one of them that gave a review and didn't show up. I can't remember. But there was a couple people that kind of mentioned, hey, I added a review to somebody's Google business profile, but it did not show up, right? Actually, I believe
did say so.
Did you?
I think it was me. Like when I did mine, I know Kim gave me a review. Like I had at least like 6 people that gave me a review, and it never showed up in.
Yeah, it happens to me as well all the time. People will leave a review and it won't show up for me. Yeah. Or it'll show up for like a day and then Google will take it off.
Okay. So one of the things that I did a little bit of more research for us, try to kind of check out what we could be doing wrong, what else is going on, right? So the best thing that I could really find and provide kind of guidance around was going to be, number one, it was going to be the actual review, right? Talking about the review itself. So if we are sharing reviews, we can probably share kind of what we can put or test certain things out. But if we add, before I had really pushed towards adding, keywords in your reviews, which is still important. What ended up happening is what I saw is some pretty lengthy reviews with very specific, it kind of a little kind of overdone with keywords in it. That can look spammy. Google is flagging stuff more and more these days. So that could have been it. So what I would recommend if we do share reviews moving forward is to kind of test it out with shorter reviews. and maybe do kind of put one simple keyword, even if it's not exactly the keyword, but something like, for example, for Mickey, Mickey, you do like, what's one of your avatars?
Tired landlords.
Tired landlords. Like, if Kim was going to leave something for Mickey and we wanted to make it super simple, one sentence, really quick, is like, I had a rental that I needed to get rid of really quick. I was able to work with Mickey. She did a great job. I definitely recommend her. Just something, very, very simple and quick, and just kind of, even doesn't have to be grammatically correct. That's the other thing that I saw. When certain reviews look super perfect, right? Google kind of flags those as spam, as kind of maybe potential fake reviews. So that's one of the things that I saw, because the only thing that Google can do to remove those or kind of flag them is it violates basically their policy, which we're not really doing. But we are kind of, when we make them look too spammy with too many keywords. Unfortunately, it helps for us if they stick, but if they don't, they do nothing, right? So I think when we do share, we're going to simplify, probably simplifying the how we provide reviews. And even at this point, since Google is becoming a little more strict, maybe, I mean, I know it sucks, but maybe we even go as far as just not putting keywords in there once in a while. The other thing is, when we do share, we get hit with multiple, maybe 2, 3, 4 reviews at one time. And if you haven't gotten any reviews at all, and you get hit, especially how we've been doing it, right? We share,
yes,
and we're all on each other's Google business profiles, and Kim's getting them, Chris is getting them, and you guys are all part of something, the same type of group. Then remember, Google kind of follows links, and I don't know how to control. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know how to control that. Go ahead.
That was my question for you, Roger. Like, did they figure out obviously they must have figured out that, that Lorraine, Kim, and I are like collaborating a lot, and that there's this thing going on, because it's literally people that I often interact with that they can't leave review.
So
there
it's
you
not
go.
necessarily you. It's the algorithms that they've built based off of experience that they've seen with all of these other networks within the freaking Godonculator. And then from there, they actually take all that information and say, okay, here's point A, and then from point A, here's all of the people in her network. Oh, look, this person in the network here is putting this. Hey, that person's connected to this person, and so on and so on and so on.
Exactly. So Bob basically nailed it there, how they're kind of discovering. I mean, there's a couple things that we can try and do. Obviously, one of them, not using your business email, literally using an email that's kind of a personal email. I put that in the Facebook group as well, trying to kind of stay away from your business email. That might be something, and just simplifying your reviews. And go ahead.
Sorry. One thing that my uncle did, he left a review. He didn't put any words. He just put 5 stars, and it stuck.
Super simple. We don't necessarily want that simplified, but it worked, right? So we're finding, kind of to Bob's point, love the way he put it there. But it's basically Google's finding out that we're all related somehow, right? We're part of this family, and it's like, nope, you guys are kind of trying to game the system, so it's removing them. And I didn't know if they were doing it at that rate, but they are watching quite a bit. So unfortunately, there's nothing we can really do, but 2 things: simplify our reviews, lower our velocity of how we get reviews. And then the other thing is use a different email. Okay, so that's we'll kind of stick with that. Go ahead, Chris.
Has anyone had a problem with an actual customer review? Because it seems like most of the problems are within the group, right? So
yeah, I'll open up the floor, because I think a lot of you guys have a problem, but I'm pretty positive it's only been within our network. Is that correct?
Yeah, all of the people
It's across the board,
network.
because of the algorithms that they're using. They're self-learning. So Google has the AI. I could tell you a whole lot more, but kind of what I do with work is building networks and figuring stuff out. And that's exactly what it is. It's nothing but a spider web of all the interconnected pieces in the entire internet. So it's irrelevant of who's who in the zoo. If it's seventh person dislocated from you specifically, it might not be hit, but 2, 3, and 4, absolutely, they're gonna get kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, reviews are a big part of it. We're going to be pushing maps this year a lot, so we got to find a way around it, even if it's a slower velocity on what we're getting them, even if we're getting them from true clients, which is where we should be. But right now, we're trying to push it a little bit with the internal network. But if they stick, they stick. Now we kind of know why they're not sticking. Now we can kind of move on and try to kind of get other ones on our Google business profile. But what I don't want to happen is giving up, because you guys need those reviews. Those are very, very important for this type of campaign that we're running, and how to get in front of the majority of people and beat out the competition. Because if you don't have reviews, you stop putting out the effort for this and you get 0 reviews, we're not going to move the needle. And the way the Google results are kind of starting to kind of come up, if you look at them, it's ads, maps, organic. So maps is becoming extremely, extremely important. So that's why I'm pushing a lot on maps and really focusing a lot, because I want to make sure you guys are set up to win on that portion. So with that said, we're going to transition just a little bit, unless there's other questions around that. I think we nailed that topic pretty good. Any other questions on that?
One last tidbit for you.
Yes, sir.
If you can take it from a different phone or computer based on your IP address or your MAC address, I know I'm talking geek, because Roger, I know you get it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically your IP address is attached to every phone, every computer, every some type of electronic that we use nowadays. So, and then if you want to get crazier, go in IEMIs and IMSIs and all that other shit. So we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, to simplify it, guys, just do it from an internet connection and somebody else. I mean, as far as like even somebody else's platform. Example, when I used to build things called minions to, game the system a little bit. I go to libraries and do them off of their computers, different location libraries, and they're different IP addresses, different computers, different everything. And then I build kind of things back to where it's at. And that's a completely different entity. So for you guys, you can try it. Bob, do you know anything about that? I'm not sure if that would, with the VPN.
I'm sorry, I stepped away. What was that?
Oh, no. Do you know with your network? Go ahead.
I was asking if a VPN would work.
It's helpful, but if you do use the VPN, you still have the same identical IP for your specific computer. But if you're using the VPN, you can bounce to different locations. So whatever system you use, I use Nord.
That's what I have.
Pick a different location, and from that different location, it just comes up as you as somebody else, because your IP is obfuscated.
Okay, I'll try that.
Give that report back, Kim, if you happen to leave, like, for example, you leave a review for Mickey or somebody, and you use your VPN, other email, VPN, and kind of you do that little stack, report back. I'm kind of curious now if that will, this might solve it. All right. Any other questions, guys?
Roger, you were saying also, when we have like this avalanche of people just doing the reviews. So I'm thinking, and I think I'm going to do like ask 1 review per week as a goal, so that I gently have that trickling of reviews. And yes, so that might just keep, building the reviews and being on the radar.
Oh, absolutely. Once again, the velocity, right? If you were to get 1 review per week, for example, 1 review per week, or every 2 weeks, whatever that means, right? You get them, and then you start accumulating 2 reviews, and then you get 3, then there's a trend, right? It's like, oh, this business is getting popular, it makes sense. But yeah, if we're getting blasted with 5 reviews in 1 day, right? Looks a little fishy. So automatically we get kind of dinged on that. Yeah, I think that's a great goal. And once again, I want you guys to report back. This is stuff that's this is what we're doing here. These are tips, tricks, hacks, but in reality, are these still doable? Do these work? So I want you guys to report back, even if you put a post in the Facebook group. Share, hey, we talked about this on the Thursday call for SEO. I did it, it worked, or it didn't work, right? And then we can continue kind of talking about it. That's what this call is all about. Just keep that conversation open for all of us, okay? So what I want to do here, probably going to take us to the end of the hour here, but what I want to do is also talk about building the authority without having to build external votes or links. Because one of the things that's going to matter, even for your Google business profile or your city pages, service pages, or whatnot, we want to build those votes, those backlinks, right? And one of the easiest ways to do that, or one of the most popular ways to do that, is build those external guest blogs. I kind of share a lot in the past in regards to building those votes back from external resources. And what I want to do is get into not that. Say, all right, we don't have that budget, or we're not doing that. And this is maybe more towards people that are on the foundations package. Because if you are on our upper level packages, we're building links for you, right? But there is a method to actually take advantage of and build certain authority using your own assets, right? And that's what I wanted to show. And I'm going to use Melanin Homes again, because I saw some opportunities for her. She just kind of, she's been with us for Accelerator now, so we're doing more for her, but she had some assets that I think were getting left behind. So I wanted to use her as an example, because you might have these and you might be sitting on some gold and you haven't interlinked stuff, and this is an opportunity to do that. So let me go ahead and share my screen again.
I'm here, man. Sorry.
Yo, Keith, welcome. I know you were on the whole time, man. I know you're doing both calls, so welcome to the call, buddy. All right, so we are now sharing here. So Melanin Homes, this is basically what I saw with her. So I was like, all right, we need to start building more authority around her notes, right? She has some things. So what we wanted to do is see what does she have available. So some of you guys have been out there creating blogs, creating Google My Business posts, creating different things, especially you guys doing the podcast. You have YouTube videos out there, right? Based off of your podcast and content out there. So what can you do with those if you're probably already promoting them on social media, whatnot? Can you actually add them or utilize them as a backlink or an interlinking strategy for your site? And you can. So in this case, we're going to go to the footer here for Lorraine, and we're going to go to her YouTube channel. So here, did it real simple, and she's kind of committed to start creating more videos about notes and all the different ways to kind of invest in notes and how all that works. So what I did, I want to kind of take one of her, she might have not even known. I even have some tips for her for this particular video here that's I believe is missing that can really kind of benefit her. But I took this that was just done 5 days ago. What much money is needed to get started with mortgage notes? So I took this, I opened this up, and what I did, I went ahead and started kind of analyzing this, right? So first things first, the keyword, right? The keyword right here. This is great. This is a great question. This is excellent. But where she misfired was in the description, right? So one, there is really no description. So I'm going to give you 2 tips. If you don't have time, I would rather you do one of these things, right? If you have time, write out a unique description and describe what you talked about. But this is an example of people that just don't have the time, right? But you created a video, you did everything, and it's like, how can I quickly just drop something in here? First tip, go to these 3 little dots. You're going to open transcript. You are going to then hit these 3 little dots and toggle timestamp. So it gets rid of the timestamp, right? And then you're just going to take this entire thing, put it on a Google Doc and clean it up. Then you have basically, you don't necessarily have to add the entire thing, because this is the entire transcripts of the 9 minutes. So it's going to be very long. But for Lorraine, she can probably look at this really quick, delete half of it, and just get a nice little description of what's going on. You have your description. And in most cases, if you did this correctly, you probably mentioned your keyword multiple times in this content. So that's why I'm looking at this as a quick fix. Okay. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is to take this, go to your website. And if you've been doing a little bit of work with content, you probably have some blog posts about that topic, not necessarily the exact keyword matching, right? But you might have something similar, right? So what we did here is we purposely did this. We took that video and we're like, let's just randomly go and look for a blog that talks about some of these things, right? And watch how I build on this. So we found this essential tips you need to know when investing in mortgage notes. We took this one, went in here, and all we did, very simple, is we embedded the video. So that's step number one. We took an existing video, we embedded. So basically what we did, we took the media, we got it here. So if someone lands here, it's another way to kind of keep someone here, but it already gives this particular page a little more power because there's another asset on here. One of the things that I mentioned already is she misfired because she has no description. So a tip for her, hopefully she watches this video, is to take what I kind of did here with the toggle of the transcript and add a description, or go to the blog post that we chose and take a couple of these paragraphs. That's it. Copy those paragraphs and obviously add a call to action, call us or whatnot at the bottom. Probably, I already kind of read through this a couple of times. So I would take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably these 5 first paragraphs. That's what I would take, add them, clean them up a little bit, but add them as a description and look at the links she provided. She did a great job. She's following directions here on some of the stuff we taught in the past, but her next step, the next link that needs to be added here is the link back to this blog post, which is this URL right here. So she will copy this URL. She will now go back to YouTube. She'll edit her description, add whatever she decided to go with the description, and add one more link. It's okay to leave all this. This is great, even the homepage, but add one more directly to that blog post. Now it connects, kind of like what Bob was saying. Google, all it is it's a matrix of links. It's following links all over the place. So we're trying to build this association with our assets, right? That's basically what we're trying to build, that big brand kind of footprint. Okay, so that's kind of one of the things. The next thing is, how can we continue building
Roger?
on that lesson? And before I go to the next step here on how we can build on this, I see Mickey has her hand raised.
Yes.
So Mickey, go for it.
When you did the transcript, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we also use that as like let's say she made that video and then you do the transcript. Can it be used as a blog? That transcript, like
great
you
question.
clean it up?
Yes.
Okay.
Say she had, I mean, some of you on our most of you on like a foundations level, right? Probably haven't created any blogs, right? You haven't started at all. Completely fine. This is a great opportunity. If that was Lorraine, I would probably coach her around, take that transcript, turn it into a blog, right? And basically interlink all this stuff from there.
Okay.
So Mickey, you've been creating some things. You can probably go
yes.
back and look at some of this stuff and create blogs and kind of now use this little stack method. Because what we're doing here, guys, and what I'm teaching, I know it's kind of like you're connecting everything, building that footprint, but you're essentially creating your own votes. You're creating your own votes by creating this little matrix around your brand. And that we're seeing more and more is becoming very valuable because Google's kind of moving towards ranking brands opposed to just kind of random just landing pages. So the more we do this to interlink our content and really kind of give our users a good experience, because if they look at one piece of content or asset, whether it's a video, a blog post, whatever it might be, but then they can link to another piece, they can link to another piece and so on, then that becomes very, very powerful around your brand. Okay. So phase 2 to this, once you have those simple little connections with the video and your blog, you can actually take a snippet, probably the same 5 paragraphs, clean those up if you wanted to make some edits. And I'm keeping it very simple because you should make some edits, right? To make it a little unique. But say you just kind of make a couple, you can even use that as a Google business profile post. Okay. And now you use the call to action. And we learned this last week, how to do a post on Google Business Profile. You do the call to action and you link back to either, you have 2 options. You can either link back to the actual blog, or you can link back to the YouTube video. Okay. So what would you link back to? This is a question that I've gotten in the past. It's like, all right, well, you gave me 2 options. What do I do? You're not going to do this once. You're going to do this, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So sometimes you can link to your blog. Sometimes you can link to your videos. That way you have a variety. Okay. So there is no right or wrong answer. I go with the variety. And when we're building an entire pretty much campaign, that's exactly what we do. We make sure that we're kind of, linking to different things. There are sometimes when we actually link from our blog posts or our videos over to our Google business profile post or maps to try to kind of give like a vote that way that we can control. But for now, I want to keep it real simple. It's just kind of interlinking from the Google post over to either a video from your call to action or your blog post. To pick one, doesn't matter which one you go. You're building your matrix from there. Okay. And then if you might say, well, if I was Lorraine and I did all this, now what, right? Well, we actually started a nice little trend for you because if you scroll down, Lorraine has a types of mortgages or types of mortgage notes. Sorry. So these types of mortgage notes just opened up the field for us to create additional blog posts that can then be turned into Google business profile posts that can then be turned into videos. Each one of these, the types, each one of these types represents its own, right? And each type represents a post on Google, a post on YouTube, and an opportunity to interlink all this stuff. And the more you do this, the better branding you get. Kim, go for it.
With each of those like different types of mortgage notes, would she or anybody be able to do like YouTube shorts? Does that help or
whatever? As long as it's something that you create, because in some cases you can explain a topic, not necessarily this one. I'm sure Lorraine can probably go and create an entire blog post. Let's just talk about something that maybe has a 1-2 sentence kind of explanation. I don't know, maybe a paragraph of explanation, and it's good enough. Absolutely, great opportunity to create a YouTube short, and you can still link to it. Still counts. Okay.
What's a YouTube short?
So, Kim, you want to explain that? You want me to explain that?
You can. I just know it's a really short YouTube video.
Sure. So basically all you're doing is probably like a 30-second to a minute, it's like video. And what it does, basically what YouTube's going to do is put it as in a different section, mostly on mobile. And it's just a quick little snippet. And that was a new feature that they released. And what was happening, the big push behind it when it first got released is that they were actually showing those kind of like the algorithm on Facebook now only shows a certain percentage of your followers can see your content. Well, these were appearing quite a bit in the front because there wasn't a lot of them up there. So these right now, I don't know how powerful they are at this point because we don't really create those anymore. Well, we don't, but it is something that you can create for the like a quick explanation.
That's very cool.
But completely doable and can be used in this strategy right here. Okay. So the final piece to this right here is going to be if you create a couple of these kind of interlinking strategies, you got a couple assets, you got a video, you got a GBP post, and you have a blog post, and you interlinked everything correctly. Now, 3 assets, right? Video, blog post, GBP post, right? A Google business post. You have all those, and you interlinked everything. If you were to go and then add a press release to that, on the press release, we can actually embed your Google post. We can embed your video, and we can actually have a link, obviously, back to your blog. So now when we actually syndicate that to a couple hundred news outlets and probably 30 to 50 of those pick them up, and you get those basically appearances. Now you got all these links coming back to your stuff, empowering up your system. I know that's an external method, but that's how you can kind of set up for that, right? And the key here is not to be random on your content. I'm still sharing here, so I'm going to show you. The goal is not to be random on, I'm just going to pick a random topic and I'm going to do all this work. It's literally for Lorraine, it'd be basically probably how much money is needed to get started with mortgage notes. I want to make sure that anybody that types any version of this sentence, of this question, right? And she'll probably do a little bit of keyword research to find out what that is. She uses those variations in her blog post as the title, on maybe a different variation for her title for her YouTube channel or video, and then another variation of this for her post on Google, right? Or her Google business profile. And then she can even take another variation of that and use it as her title for her press release. Now she covers everything. And obviously we sprinkle every single variation of that in our video, in the content on our blog post, and in our content on our post on our Google business profile. Now you're kind of nailing a certain keyword or basically a family of keywords. And you continuously test. Do I need to run another press release? And you keep doing this system till you rank, basically, boom. And that's what we do. We take kind of certain amount of keywords that we're going after. Once we get them up there with a couple different strategies, we move on to another set and another set. And that's how we continuously kind of move the needle for you guys on what we're going. Chris, for example, they hopped on our accelerator package. We just had our first meeting. We're talking about this. What did I tell you, Chris? Is like, right now I'm focusing on Houston. I know you guys are, you're in other areas, but I know a lot of search is happening in Houston based on the number of cities that you're going after. I need that search to build the authority. So I'm building all this effort, all these strategies to push Houston up. Once I'm done with Houston, that's going to hold. So I'm going to move on to another section of Texas and do the exact same thing, continue to raise it up. That makes sense. And then actually, I just started seeing some things come through and moving for Onyx Homes. That's exciting because that's kind of taking a little bit. So for Kim, that is a kind of a very competitive market in Chicago there. But you are some of the Chicago stuff. That's where I'm focusing. It's like I'm going to probably in our meeting, we're probably going to be talking a lot about Chicago. Once we nail down Chicago, we'll worry about everything else. But that is what we go after first. And we use very, very similar methods like this. And like I said, I don't want to discourage you guys that are in the higher level packages from doing this stuff. It's okay. If you guys want to try it, test it, you don't have to do it as much. For those of you on let Sean in here. For those of you on like a foundations package, I encourage you. There is no option. You have to do this. I want you to do this because I want you to win, right? So obviously ask your questions, see what's going on, and hopefully this particular session kind of helps get to that point. So I'll go ahead and open it up, guys, for any questions, and then we'll kind of take us to the end of the hour from there.
I have a question, Roger.
Go for it.
I know it depends, but how often would you recommend doing a press release on that particular topic to move that needle even more? As many as possible, or it just depends?
Yeah, so right now we use, Chris, we use press releases to move the needle for, I'll be honest with you, our press, the way we run press releases, our SEO, it has nothing to do with me trying to get you guys on Forbes or, on certain, the main abc.com or anything like that. It's strictly SEO. So we run those. We don't just run them to run them. We first set up the structure that I shared today, very similar structure. And then we run them till we get you to number one, right? Because what that's doing is feeding the actual matrix that I created for that set of keywords. Once we win them, we stop. But I think Bob's probably the best one here that can actually attest to something like this. You got to be careful. So it's not like we're going to run them nonstop till we get there. We're going to give it a rest as well, because Google can see every link that we're creating. And if there's a trend, a bad trend, then you can possibly get penalized, right? So we have a little bit of a system where we'll run 3 to 4, maybe. If we get to 4, it's a lot, right? But by the time we get to 2 or 3, we're already seeing the needle move. We stop. As soon as we can stop, we stop. In some markets, we can run 1 and boom, it runs, we stop, right? So there isn't a rule of thumb, Chris. Unfortunately, there isn't a straight answer for that. It's basically a method. If you are on the foundations and you're running it on your own, say, I know I've been talking to Keith. This is something, Keith, it should be in your wheelhouse. You're getting some blogs. You're going to chop that up into Google posts, into probably videos, right? And you're going to do this interlinking strategy. And then eventually you'll probably come to us like, bam, I created all this stuff. The needle's starting to move. And I'm probably going to tell Keith, you want to go faster? Get a press release, connect, and let's pretty much launch some power on these things. And he'll see kind of the lift. Now, depending on the competition in his market, I know Keith's market already, it's low to medium. So I think he'll do well just kind of with the inner linking and maybe one press release, right? And then he can move on to other areas of his market. But if you're super competition, you'll see yourself running. Houston, we're going to run about 3 to 4 things like some of your areas that you're trying to tackle. The lower ones, we might run one press release that's connected to all this, and we'll get where we want to be.
That makes sense. Thank you, Roger.
All right, no problem. Any other questions, guys? We good? All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here. Just give me 1 second.